Hello, I'm the Anime Viewer 66, and today I'm going to be reviewing the anime Ouran High School Host Club. Now, the plot of this story is as follows. There's this amazing school called the Ouran Academy, a school for the children of the wealthy and famous. Now, in this school, there is one school club that is called the Ouran High School Host Club, which is basically a club where young gentlemen who have way too much time on their hands can entertain young ladies who have way too much time on their hands, and both of them obviously have way too much money on their hands. That being said, we are introduced to our first main character, which is Haruhi. No, not that Haruhi. Yes, that Haruhi. Haruhi happens to be my favorite character on this series just because she's so down to earth, speaks her mind, and just wants to be in her studies and doesn't really care what people think about her that much. Even though her family's pretty much just middle class, she gets to go to Ouran Academy because she's pretty much super smart and gets to go there on a scholarship. One day she's wandering around the school trying to find her way around the place, and it's there that she wanders into the famous host club without really knowing what it is. And then when she walks in, she gets to meet all the wonderful members of the host club, which are as follows. You have Tamaki, the leader. Even though at the beginning he seems like a classic, arrogant, self-centered, rich person, throughout the series you really get to see him as an actual person who actually has feelings and emotions and really does care for Haruhi, even though it is kind of in a sicker way later on. If you watch the series, you'll know what I mean. He just has some weird quirks, but even so, he truly does care about all the members of the host club like they were his family. Next up is Kyoya. Kyoya is basically the character who keeps all the money and the records for the Ouran High School Host Club. He's also considered the quote-unquote cool character. He controls pretty much everything in the host club next to the, of course, main leader, which is Tamaki. But even though Tamaki is supposed to be the boss, really Kyoya is basically the one who really takes care of things. And even though he does seem to have at the beginning sort of an unlikable kind of part to him that you see it's pretty much kind of all an act later on. It's hard for me to explain it entirely because you really have to watch the anime to see what I mean. But let's just say, considering this guy's backstory and considering all of the things he has to do, this guy has some layers to him. Then, of course, you have Honey Senpai. Honey Senpai is basically one big joke about the lolly thing. Now, everyone knows in the anime community what lolly kind of is, and this basically makes fun of that joke. Because even though this kid looks like a 2-pound weakling, I ain't gonna run it for you guys, but just watch the anime and trust me, you will probably think he is one of the coolest characters by the end of this show. Then there's Takashi. Takashi is basically Honey Senpai's right-hand man and is devoted to him 100%. Take of that what you will. Then there are the twins, which is Hikaru and Karu. Hikaru and Karu are basically, they have in the host club a very weird way to get the ladies to be interested in them. I'm going to let you figure that one out on your own. But I will say that as far as character development goes, the backstory for these two is just kind of sad. Likeable, but sad. Now, it's important to note at this point that they all think that Haruhi is indeed a boy, because she wears boys' clothes and she has very short hair. However, she accidentally knocks over an old vase in the middle of the host club by accident that was worth a ton of money. Because of this, she now has to work as the host club's dog, or servant, or whatever you want to say, to pay off her debt. Now, considering this, she basically has no way out of this because she has no other way to pay them, so she has to work for them. And then they find out that she actually looks pretty good without her glasses on. So they're like, okay, you're going to become a host club member. But there are a couple of different means. They find out, okay, she's actually a girl in an actual pretty funny scene. And they're like, okay, you're still going to work as a host club member, but this time, we're going to have to keep your identity secret. So the entire rest of the show is basically that. Them keeping Haruhi secret, and Haruhi not really caring one way or the other. Haruhi was actually... One of the great things I actually think about this show is that Haruhi doesn't care. She really doesn't care. When people... I mean, she does care. She doesn't want to be in debt to them or anything. She wants to pay off her debt, but she really doesn't care to be a host club member, to be honest, because of the fact that when she was actually asked, you're a girl, don't you really care if you're having to act as a host club member and entertain these young women and they think you're a guy? And she basically says, I don't really care if people see me as either gender because I'd rather them see me as me than anything else. And I actually like that thought. That thought that, hey, it doesn't matter if you're male, female, black, white, whatever it may be, you should be looked at as a person and nothing more. A pretty good thing. Those are sort of, it's an idealized way of thinking, of course. People will judge you depending on who you are, but it's sort of an idealist thinking of how she sees herself and how she sees the world. And especially when later on we see her family and her family life, we understand more why so she believes that way, and why she believes that people should be judged by who they are and not what they are. The story overall is pretty good. It just happens to be that the comedy focuses on two specific things. Either one, Haruhi having to pretend to be a boy, or two, Haruhi being sort of amongst all these rich people with their rich ways, and they think anything commoner, kind of poor is just like, oh, these poor people, and oh, I'm so much better than you. To be honest, the actual host club members, they don't really think they're better than anyone else. They just sort of think, they look at like everyday people as sort of like an anomaly. Like they don't really see normal people that much because they live in their own little world with all the other rich people, kind of like how the popular kids really don't know that much about the nerds or anything because the popular kids live in their own little world where nothing bad ever happens and all that. Same thing here. But overall, the comedy is good. And what I can say about this is they mix together comedy and action and drama all together very, very seamlessly. Like, there can be one minute where you're laughing like crazy, another minute where you're just shocked from what just happened, and another where you're just like, that got me right there. Seriously, it's like that the whole way through. Like an emotional roller coaster. It's awesome. In conclusion, this is a very funny show with some serious moments that actually talk about the stereotypes between the rich and the poor people, the different thoughts of what gender is and how it defines people, and also, of course, the, without a doubt, genius moments you see in this anime that are a mixture of, like I said before, every emotion into one. So I give this anime 5 stars out of 5. Well worth your watch. And I definitely would like to hear what you guys think of this anime down below. I'm the Anime Viewer 66. Thank you, and good night.